Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. It is a semi-final preview for the Roland Garros 2024 tournament, and I cannot wait to get into this one because Iga Swiatek versus Coco Gauff. And yes, the head-to-head is pretty one-sided, and we'll get into that in a second. But I do think this is going to be a very competitive match. At least I hope it will be. But we'll break it down. First of all, by talking about their route to the semi-finals, then talking about the head-to-head, and then I will break it down tactically and technically, let you guys know how I think it might play out, and also mainly talking about how Coco Gauff might be able to cause Swiatek problems, because I think we know that Swiatek causes Gauff problems. She's dominating the matchup so far, and then ultimately I'll give you guys my prediction. Before we do get into it, though, remember to hit that like button. Do subscribe if you're new, and do leave a rating and review if you're listening on a podcast platform. Thank you, of course, to our members as well. You guys are absolute legends for contributing. So we appreciate each and every one of you. And yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so in terms of their route to this stage and how they looked, well, Swiatek had a very easy first round, beating Jean in straight sets. And then after that, really the only trouble she had was in the second round, where she had to face a match point against Naomi Osaka. And Osaka played some inspired tennis, really just blockbuster, big hitting tennis against Swiatek, rushed the Polish player. And I think early doors as well in a tournament, to face someone like Osaka, if she's going to play the way she did, is a really tough match, even on clay. And Osaka played really well, served extremely well for the most part, and just was hitting the ball massive, absolutely massive. And Swiatek, I think, especially on clay, is used to being the one who's hitting the heavier ball, generally speaking. Even against, say, Sabalenka, I think Sabalenka hits the ball very hard, but I think in terms of heaviness of ball, especially on the forehand side, Swiatek's up there. Osaka was able to kind of match, if not even supersede, I think, the heaviness of ball that Swiatek gives. And not just that, she was able to find great angles as well. So that was a really, really good match. One of the matches of the year, I think, on the WTA side. And Osaka very close. But Swiatek survived, and they showed, of course, the pictures of her crying afterwards in the changing room. She knew she was very close to conceding her Roland Garros crown. She's the defending champion, of course, but came through it. And then since then, she's been imperious, beating Puskova, Potapova, and Vondrousova very, very easily. Potapova was a double bagel, so that was an absolute demolition job. Vondrousova also got a bagel as well in the first set, so she's looked good. She's looked good, apart from, as I said, that Osaka match. For Coco Gauff, she's had a pretty easy run of it up until the quarterfinal stage. Beat Avdiva, Zidansek, Yastremska, and Kochiretso, all very solid wins. She hasn't looked, I would say, extremely dominant in the matches, but she's just looked a cut above, I think, the rest of the players. And I think that's fair to say. The quality is there, we know. Against Jabeur, she did struggle, and Jabeur had her chances. Jabeur took a set of Gauff, and I think Gauff, recovered nicely after losing the first set. And yeah, just recovered nicely, took it 6-2, 6-3 in the next two sets. And I think she did really well with handling the crowd, which most likely is going to be in this match on Swiatek's side as well, because against Jabeur, she's from Tunisia, so they are also French speaking as well. A lot of the Tunisian people, and yeah, the crowd was very much in favor of Jabeur, and they're really cheering her on. But Gauff managed to weather the storm that Jabeur was brewing, and yeah, did really, really well. Did really well to navigate her way through that. In terms of the head-to-head is 10-1 in favor of Iga Swiatek. Coco Gauff, the only win she has over Swiatek was last year at Cincinnati, and look, it was a good win. I have to say, it was a really good win. Apart from that, though, she hasn't been Swiatek, and Swiatek's won 6 matches, other matches on hard court, 4 on clay. And I think the consensus is she's a big favorite, for this match. And look, a lot of people will be saying that she's going to win in straight sets, and I can see why. And I'll talk about my prediction in a second, but let's mainly analyze, I think, the matchup, and also how Goff, in my opinion, would be able to cause Swiatek problems. Whether she can execute it or not, sorry, even is another story. But yeah, I mean, in terms of time on court, interestingly, Coco Gauff has spent less time, probably because of that Osaka match, which was really long. Swiatek spent 7 hours and 13 minutes, and Gauff at 6 hours and 54 minutes. In terms of the matchup, so there's a lot to unpack here, in all honesty, but I'll try and keep it succinct. Gauff on clay is able to utilize her forehand a lot better than she is on any other surface, because generally speaking, she has quite a big take back on that forehand. And what it means is if she has more time to prepare for it, she's going to not be rushed as much on it. She's not going to shank the ball as much. She's going to find that sweet spot on that forehand wing for the most part. And it just means she has that comfort of knowing I've got a little bit more time. I've got a little bit more time. She's extremely athletic. It's not to do with her legs and her preparation there. It's more to do with her racket preparation. And, I think it wasn't surprising, actually, that she made the final of Roland Garros 2 years ago and lost to Swiatek because, uh, she just has that type of game. She's a great defender. She moves extremely well, one of the best movers on tour. And, she's got an extremely solid backhand. And the forehand, when she's got time, it can also be a good weapon too. So, she's definitely, for me, almost most comfortable on a slower hard court you know or a clay court. The issue that Coco Gauff has though against Swiatek is that Swiatek is the queen of clay. We like to call Rafa Nadal the king of clay, and I think it's fair to say that Swiatek at the moment, and at some point she probably will take up that mantle on the women's side because she's so dominant. She won Rome, she won Madrid this year. Last year, she won Roland Garros. Of course, she's won it multiple times, and she is the person to beat. She is the person to beat, right? Let's be frank. Swiatek is uh, the woman to beat in this draw, and she just is so good. Her whole game, her whole style of play is perfect for clay. Swiatek. She is a fantastic defender. She moves extremely well, like Goff. They have that in terms of similarities. But the forehand. Now on clay, like Goff, to be fair, I think she prefers having more time on the forehand because she's got a very extreme grip on the forehand. It is a little bit wacky, the technique, but it works for her. And on other surfaces, when she's rushed, it can break down. But on clay, she's very rarely rushed. And I think she's also got the comfort of knowing she's playing on clay, and she raises her level. But the amount of topspin she's able to exert on her shots, the angle she finds, the heaviness of ball that she's able to generate is extremely impressive on clay, and it ends up being too much for 99.9% of players to handle on clay, really. The backhand as well is super solid. And interestingly, actually, when I'm talking about both players, they do have a lot of similarities. I think the biggest difference is that Swiatek's forehand on clay is just so much more potent, generally speaking. And she just dictates with it so much. She's also a lot more offensive on clay, and she takes the ball on the rise a lot better than Goff does. And she takes the ball better on the rise than anyone, I would argue, on the women's and the men's tours. If you watch her take a ball at shoulder height, and she'll take it, she won't wait for it to bounce at a really kind of comfortable contact point. She will take it early on the rise, and more often than not, sorry, excuse me, more often than not, she will hit a really potent ground stroke off that, which is not easy to do, especially from the baseline or behind the baseline. But she has that ability. She's able to hit, of course, varied ground strokes as well. More topspin, a bit flatter, more air, more coverage over the net. find angles, and her depth, I think, is really good as well, Swiatek, on clay. But the biggest thing for me is the backhand down the line, which is good on all surfaces. And it's also on clay a really potent weapon, especially against someone like Gauff, whose forehand can be susceptible to breaking down at times. So that's a shot that's obviously going into the forehand side. So in terms of what a Gauff can do, there's a few things, and if you watch their final from 2 years ago, there's a few things that Gauff did where she had success, but she's a better player than she was then as a Swiatek. Now for Gauff, if she had a great slice, that would be such a good weapon to utilize, even though it's on clay, because the backhand slice, I feel, especially the short backhand slice anyway against Swiatek, is a really good play cross court because it drags her to the net. And that is, in my opinion, the biggest weakness that Swiatek has, her net play. If she's coming to the net and she's in complete control, then, even someone like Swiatek who's not particularly comfortable in the forecourt, more often than not will win the point, right? If she's dragged to the net with a really good drop shot or with a short slice, that's when, as an opponent, you should be thinking, I'm in at this point, and actually I should win this point. Because Swiatek's touching around the net is not bad, but her volleying is not great. It's really not. It's definitely something that I would say is probably her least potent skill in her tool bag, I would say, in honesty. And if I was Goff, I would be trying to utilize that short slice. But the problem I have is I don't think Goff has that in her arsenal. I don't think she has that short slice. I haven't really seen her back. I don't really see her slice much anyway on the backhand side. But when I have seen it, it's more of a floaty slice. She doesn't have that ability, I think, at the moment to really utilize that shot effectively. So if she can't do that, then she needs to utilize a drop shot and be selective, though, because of course, as you would have seen if you've ever watched Ons Jabeur versus Swiatek, Swiatek just pounced on those drop shots because Jabeur at times would overuse it. And one thing I'd say though is that if you watch the final back, you'll see Goff had some success with a drop shot. When she played it, if it was the right time to play it when she was pushing Swiatek around, she was then able to get a pass, and her backhand pass was really good. Swiatek was going to the backhand side a lot. Goff's backhand down the line to pass is really, really good. She makes it more from the knot, and she's athletic, so she should get to it as well, right? As long as she's given an approach that isn't super effective into a corner or super deep. So I do think that that is a play that Goff should look to utilize, but it's about knowing when to, of course, play that shot. Now, the drop shot or dragging shot to the forecourt can come from two or a few different scenarios. The first scenario being that she hits a really good serve out wide, she drags out Swiatek, then she drop shots into the opposite corner. The next scenario is that she's being aggressive from the baseline, and she either finds good angles and then utilizes it, or she's just being aggressive and pushing Swiatek behind the baseline to then utilize that drop shot, right? Which leads me on to the baseline exchanges. Now, Goff has a very solid game. She does. But solid won't be good enough against Swiatek. I'm going to be honest, it's not. Her winning in Cincinnati, even though it was on hard court, I did watch it again. And the one thing I noticed was that was Coco Gauff, was being brave in the exchanges. Now, on clay, the ball's going to bounce more. She might need to potentially take balls a bit higher. But in terms of pace, right, the court is slower than Cincinnati. And one thing she was doing really well in Cincinnati was taking the ball early and going line and being aggressive in the exchanges. And that's when she was having a lot of success. And that's, in my opinion, one of the biggest reasons why she won that match. Because the forehand, right, was working and working well. So she had confidence on both wings. Swiatek didn't know what to do in terms of where to attack and how. And Gauff was actually overpowering her. Similar to what Osaka did earlier in Roland Garros. Now, Gauff on clay, I'm not saying she can hit as big as an Osaka, but what I'm saying is she can hit big enough to trouble Swiatek. She needs to be brave and go line at times. And if she goes cross court, it needs to be with the intention to find good angles. Because the problem is that if you drag Swiatek out with an angle, but actually the shot's not good enough, she will hurt you down the line or find a better angle herself. Because she has such a high topspin forehand, in that forehand to forehand exchange, she probably will find a better angle. So Gauff needs to be mindful of that, but also she needs to be brave going line. And especially with the backhand down the line, because the backhand down the line is one of her best shots. And she needs to be brave hitting that into the forehand of Swiatek. And if Swiatek goes cross court, then you say fine. And then maybe if it's not a fantastic forehand, you then step in and you go line as well with your forehand. And you just try and be aggressive and push Swiatek back. Try and rush her when you can. It's going to be tough on a slow clay court, I'm going to be honest. This is not an easy game plan to implement and execute against Swiatek. And that's why I think she's a big underdog, Gauff, in all honesty. The other thing she's going to have to do is serve really well, make a high percentage of first serves, hit her spots. She's got a big first serve when she makes it, and she's in rhythm. But the second serve will be obliterated by Swiatek as much as possible. Swiatek will step in, and she'll really hurt Gauff on the second serve return. I think that's fair to say, and there's not many players that can neutralize the Swiatek second serve return. I would say maybe Sabalenka or Rybakina if they're serving really well with their second serve. But, I've seen Swiatek even against Sabalenka recently on clay just say your second serve, I'm just going to step in and take a clean swipe and strike at that because I think actually you're not going to rush me and you're not going to hurt me with it. I'm confident enough that I can get a clean enough strike to hurt you and either be on the front foot or get to neutral straight away. So Gauff has to be mindful of a few things then. Make sure she's serving well, be aggressive from the baseline, find good angles, and drag Swiatek to the forecourt when she can. That to me are the three key things for Coco Gauff to beat Swiatek. It's going to be a very hard plan to implement on a slow clay court surface, on a surface where Swiatek is the most comfortable, but she does have some chance, I think, let's say. I'd say it's 75% chance of Swiatek winning, 25% Gauff. For Swiatek, there's not really too much to say because her style is enough to beat Gauff right now. Head to head is 10-1. I don't think she needs to change what she's doing. She just needs to play as she's playing, and she should get the win, in all honesty. So, in terms of prediction, and look, I would like to see Gauff take a set of Swiatek at least, or even, and everyone wants to see a final set tiebreaker, but I'd go with Swiatek to win in straight sets, and I think maybe one of the sets might be close, might be a tiebreaker, might be a 7-5, 6-4, but I just have a feeling that for Gauff, this just isn't the right surface for this matchup. If they play on grass, I might even start to favour Gauff. They've never played on grass, and I think Gauff actually has a potentially better grass game. Even on a hard court at the moment, I'd say, okay, Swiatek's probably still the favourite, but it's a lot closer in terms of probability. Let me know in the comment section below who you think is going to win and why. I'm really excited for this one, though. I'm excited to see what Gauff can do. Can she come out and really cause Swiatek problems? And yeah, we'll see you guys very, very soon. We'll be doing a live watch along for it, I'm sure. So stay tuned for that. And we'll see you in the comment section. Thank you very much, guys.